Everybody in the club. Oh my God, what is happening? Okay. Hi, it's Anna. Welcome to True Lovelis. And somebody mentioned to me that the beginning of the podcast was too sleepy. Oh man, maybe I'm just tired. So that's what I got so far. I'll have something new next week, maybe, or the week after that. I'm in New York, and it's lovely. I love New York. I love New York so much. I lived here for a long time. And I'm glancing out my hotel window, and I can see Starbucks. And that's a good thing, because I know I can get there quickly. So I hope everybody's doing good. I've been really busy. The traveling kind of took over my life, and I don't do so well with jet lag. Like, when I can't figure out what time zone I'm in or where life is, where my anchor is, I'm just like a mess. So that's the reason why I was kind of absent for a little while. Okay then, let's get started with some really cool questions that friends posted on Twitter. And sorry about the interruption and change in sound. I had to shut off the air conditioner because it was like making this hum in the background. So sorry about that. At Fuckboy Lovelis, Noel asked, what is your favorite poetry book? Oh, this is such a hard question because when I have a book in front of me, it's my favorite. And it's horrible to say that. Like, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite because I feel like those books get their feelings hurt if you say that they're not. But I'll tell you some that really affected me in a big way. Of course, many of you know that Bukowski is one of my biggest inspirations, and I just love him. As crazy and dirty and whacked out as he was, something about him really knocked me off my feet when I discovered him. And the first book I read of his is called Love is a Dog from Hell. And how I learned about that book was I was reading an interview by Sean Penn, like probably 10 or 15 years ago, and he was talking about the first Bukowski book that he loved. And I was like, I like Sean, and Sean likes Bukowski. And then I went to Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame, which is one of my favorite titles ever. It's amazing. That's a Bukowski book. And then another writer of poetry that's affected me in a big way is Sharon Olds, and her poems are very cool. I just love her. And one of my favorite all-time books of hers is The Gold Cell. And then The Prophet and now, I'm sorry if I don't say the names right because I'm kind of self-taught in the literature area. Like, I learned a lot in school, but a lot of what I did learn about the things I liked were after I got out of school, so I kind of had them on my own, and I never learned how to pronounce people's names correctly. But The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and that's one of my favorites because I found that and I fell in love with all of the writings in it, and then I gave it to my dad when he was still alive, and he loved it too, so that holds a special place in my heart. And then most recently, two of the writers that I've learned from people that are very special to me is Michael Fodé, his book Dirty Pretty Things, which is amazing, and I'm going to say this name wrong, so I apologize ahead of time, but Lang Liav, The Universe of Us, and I really just love those two writers. They're more modern. I do have a note. Sometimes the questions remind me of something else that I wanted to talk about, which is late at night. I think it's important, the world is really in a crazy state right now with everything going on. And I feel like the world is always in a crazy state. Like, if you jump ahead 10 years and I'm talking to someone, it's like, oh, the world is crazy right now. I mean, the world is always in chaos and in peace at the same time, but it's just trying to, us as the beings of the earth are trying to figure everything out and figure ourselves out. So it always feels like this push and pull's constantly there, which is great. But the one thing I noticed is that I would be reading the news or watching something online late at night, and sometimes it's always like catching up on news or what's going on with the world. During the day, I'm very emotionally susceptible to to getting like, I'm one of those people who, if I see something online about saving children or charities or animals or anything that's just a discord in the world, on the planet, I get real emotional about it and I get really into it, and then all of a sudden my whole day is consumed with like how to figure out this problem, and I exhaust myself and I actually don't get anything accomplished. That's just my syndrome, okay? I'm sure there's other people, but so I avoid watching the news or catching up on what's happening. I don't do that like first thing in the day, read the news. I mean, unless somebody says like, you see things online, like so and so, an earthquake happened, I'll check into that and start crying or something. But nonetheless, when I was doing my checkups, it was late at night. So I would go, oh, what's happening in the world and what's happening here, what's happening there. And then I would go to bed and I would be all tense, so it kind of wasn't solving the problem of getting emotionally wrapped up in stuff. Because then I'd have bad dreams or I would have restless sleep, and then I'd wake up and go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. So I started doing this thing where I give myself like a half an hour to check in with the world, see what's happening, what's going on, check on this, check on that, CNN or the BBC, whatever it is. And then before bed, I have to watch something that just makes me really laugh, like really crack up and just forget about everything. And I know that might seem like a really selfish thing, like, oh, you can't deal with what's going on in the world. Like, well, some people are really able to deal with what's going on with the world, and you hope that those people are out there doing some really great things. And then you hope that in your life you're affecting people individually or in groups that you can, and that you're helping where you can. So I don't look at it selfish, because it doesn't make me any better a person if I'm stressed out when I'm sleeping and I don't get restful sleep, and then I'm miserable the next day and I affect people in a negative way, So you have to find the places where you're able to let go and not think about the world and just be present and laughing and enjoying the world. So every night I'm big on The Office. I love The Office so much. I think I've told you guys that before. I love Arrested Development, which is freaking hilarious. And the other thing that really, really, really just makes me feel like amazing is Louis C.K. He's like my big savior kind of thing. He's just so funny, and he just nails, he's so ironic with the way he looks at life and just looks at himself. Like he just picks himself apart and puts it into the characters that he talks about. And sometimes I don't even just watch his stand-up. I watch his interviews, because his interviews sometimes are really telling and odd and strange. Anyway, besides the poetry book, that's, it just made me remember things that influence me on a day-to-day basis. Okay, next question from @Brioni_May. Will you come back to England soon? And then a little picture of a cloud. I hope so. I really love England, and I love the juxtaposition of England. I've been to England many times, and I love London because it has older architecture and newer architecture just based on the wars and the things that happened there in history. You can see where sometimes this ancient architecture blends into something that's modern and new, and I just love that. And then the fact that you can go out to the countryside in England and it's a whole different world. I'd like to spend more time in the countryside and London in the cities. Anyway, that's my answer. Thank you for the question. Let's see. This is from @AshtonPasta_, my friend May. What is the one thing you want to achieve in life? Well, I have a long list of things that I want to achieve, but I think from growing and evolving as a person that I want to become a better person. And one of the things that's important to me is to continue to find ways to affect other people in a positive way. I think that's the most important thing. So that seems like a really gigantic goal that doesn't have any little goals, but I think that every day, my real inner self is just saying like, how do I become a better person? And in that, when I meet other people, I inspire them to find better parts of themselves. I think that's the most important thing. I hopped upon um, this guy from my friend Adam, who told me about this guy Wim Hof, and he's known as the Iceman. I haven't like done all the research that I'm going to do about him, but I watched the Joe Rogan Experience interview with Wim Hof, Wimhof, and when I started watching it, I got really inspired because I have a lot of health problems that have just kind of taken over in the last year and a half. Um, and I don't really talk about them online. Actually, a lot of times when I disappear from online, it has to do with me dealing with health problems because when I'm in pain or I'm experiencing something I'm not the kind of person to go online like, oh, I'm in so much pain today and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't like to do that. I like to kind of like bunker down. It's probably not even the phrase, hunker down in my bunker and try and figure out ways to help myself with my health and healing and stuff like that. So, but I'm dealing with fibromyalgia and some back problems and some things that have just kind of piled up over the years from not really taking care of myself in the correct way. And so I do a lot of acupuncture and natural herbs. And most of you know I'm bipolar, so I'm always dealing with that and therapy and different herbs and stuff like that. But I watched this interview on Joe Rogan of Wim Hof, and I got so inspired because it seemed like this guy was figuring things out, and there's all these scientific experiments that they've done on him and his body and how he controls his responses, internal responses on like his immune system and things like that. So I'm really inspired about that. That's one of the things that lately a goal is like, so Kenny and I watched the video, and then he was like, we got to do this. Oh, there's a siren going by in New York. I feel like every 4 minutes a siren goes off. And I'm wondering like what happened to the person and if they're going to be okay or if they're close to death, like are they going to get help or is this the last few moments that they're going to be living? It's always an intense thing for me to think that there's these beings calling out for help. Okay, and I usually just kind of like have a little moment in my heart where I hope that whatever their destiny is, that they're fulfilling it and they're happy. Okay, the siren is gone. So, so that's one of my present goals is to go and check out this guy Wim Hof and find out all about his philosophies and the studies he's done on the body and healing and stuff like that. Okay, so thank you, May, for your question. Oh boy, I'm going blind. I love 5SOS247. I love 5SOS247. And her tag name is Pumpkin Spice Queen, which is cute. What is your favorite family memory? God, I have so many favorite family memories. I think that mostly my favorite that I return to is like when we all lived in New York and we used to go to the pumpkin patches during the fall. Because the fall weather just makes me really happy, that kind of first chill that comes over the earth, that you feel the season changing. And October and Halloween are my favorite times of year, and we always celebrate Halloween like in a big way in our family. I think one of my favorite memories, it's funny, you don't remember things until you start talking about them, but one of my favorite memories is one time we all get together for Halloween. It's like a big thing, like we get our friends together and all this stuff. But one of my favorite memories is Kenny dressed like, I don't even know what the hell we were calling it, like Swamp Man or something. And we were trick-or-treating out in these family neighborhoods, like kind of rich neighborhoods in Toluca Lake, where the people like really do up their houses, and you go in and each house has a haunted house and you walk through it. But anyway, Kenny's costume was all green with like leaves hanging off of it. And he would stand against the bushes and just like hide in the bushes waiting to scare someone. And I kept saying like, Kenny, this isn't like an adult party. Like there's kids around. You're going to really scare these kids. But I think while the podcast is going, like when I have this on YouTube, when this part comes up, I'm going to put up a picture, a couple of the pictures we have of Kenny in that costume. It's just so ridiculous. Kenny is actually really funny. You know, a lot of people see very serious side of him because he's kind of like the businessman in the family. You know, he handles all the business end of stuff, and he can be really strong and strict. You know, he's very protective and he's very loyal. But the funny thing is when you see these parts of him that are just really wacky and crazy, and people go like, "Oh, it all makes sense why you're all together now," you know. He's really insane, and I love him a lot. But anyway, that's one of my favorite family memories. And there's many others. Maybe as they become uncovered in my mind, I'll share more with you. But thank you for asking. Okay, thanks for the question. At AMNESIALL. Which one was born before, the egg or the hen? I never heard that. Which one was born before, the egg or the hen? Wow, I don't know. Could you imagine if I just got locked here in like a loop of thought about the egg or the hen for like 9 years? If somebody had to come and slap me in the face or something. I don't know which was born first. I don't know. I don't even know the evolution. I have this great book about evolution. And it was written by this. I wish I had it in front of me. It's at home in LA. I don't have it. But it's really good. And I think that now that you've asked me that question, I'm going to go and read the whole story of evolution and see what came first. Okay, next question. Let's see. Okay, I just lost it. At Mrs. Lovelis. Hi. Cute name. How can you find always inspiration? How can you always find inspiration? Well, it took me a really long time. I had writer's block for a really, really long time. And in and out, whoa. I just like flipped my hands around and shit is flying around the room. See, I used to get in these spaces, these locked spaces, and not be able to write. And it would consume me, and then I would read books about how to stop writer's block and blah, 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 blah. And then as the years went on, I realized that, like, everything is related to fear. I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? And that's what this whole podcast is about. I've just decided. Fear is what prevents us from everything. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to not be afraid. So when you sit down to write and you don't have anything to write, you're just afraid. So you just write. A writing teacher once told me, and I don't even know who this writing teacher was. It was something online that I took or some YouTube video I was watching or something. No, I think it was this book called Writing Down the Bones. Yeah, that's what it was, I think. You just write. See, when we sit down to write and we don't have anything to write, or we think that we have blockages, it's because we're thinking and analyzing what we're going to write. So, because we think we're stupid, we just immediately default to, I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm doing. But you really do know what you're doing, okay? I can promise you that. When you are not thinking about it or you're not pressured, you can write a story. You can be like, a girl rode the elevator, got out of the elevator, went to the door, knocked on the door. No one answered. It's the stupidest beginning of any story. I mean, I just pulled that, I'm in a hotel, so I thought, the thing is like, we think like, oh, it's so stupid and it's not going anywhere. Where am I going? You just have to write. So you write the stuff that just comes out, you know? The boy went into the coffee shop and saw the love of his life, but she didn't know his name. Like, just write stuff. And then after you write it, you go back and you're like, oh, you know what? His name is Brian. So Brian went into the coffee shop. And then you can add details, in the bad part of town or this, that, and the other thing. Like, you just write, even if you think it's stupid. So the way that I'm always inspired is that I stopped looking at a piece of paper thinking, what do I write? I just write. And sometimes I write blah, 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 et cetera, blah, 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 blah. I can't do this. Like, sometimes you have to beat yourself up a little bit if that's what works for you. And then you get to, okay, what I'm going to write is, I've fallen in love 43 times in my life and none of them worked out. I've fallen in love twice in my life and one of them worked out. Just start writing. Just write anything. Anything at all. You can write a line like, my mother doesn't even know me. Or, when I talk, no one can hear me. And you're already a writer. Everybody's a writer. Everybody is creating their life right now. The story is being written. And when you think to yourself, I can't find inspiration and I can't write and I don't know how to do this, it's only fear. You can do all of this. You can do all of it, and you've done it before and you'll do it again. Fear is what keeps us back. So do not be afraid. And sometimes I just sit with my legs crossed and I close my eyes, and what I say over and over again is the only thing that there is love. The only thing there is love. The only thing there is love. And you'll see how fear vanishes and you become centered on yourself, which is just a spark of light created from love in this gigantic universe, searching for the answers. And as you're searching for the answers, you'll find yourself. Okay? So, I'm signing off from New York. I love all of you. Pick up a pen, a paintbrush, read a book, smile, hug someone, do something good for yourself and do something good for others. And hopefully we will meet again. Okay? Happy October. Bye-bye. Oh, there's where my dinosaur went.